Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you this morning. Welcome to the Vicarage here at Penn. And wherever you're watching, hit locally or a long way away, God bless you. Good to see you. And thank you for joining us for our Bible talk this morning. Before we go into the Bible, I'm going to ask for your prayers today for our Alpha course. Tonight is the last session, apart from the Holy Spirit Day in a few weeks' time. The last session tonight, and we've got all the way through, and actually, brilliantly, no one's dropped out, which is fantastic. We've had some great sessions, and do please pray for the candidates as they look where they go from here. And also, some of them are prepared to get confirmed in a few weeks' time as well. So we've had a fantastic Alpha course. So do please pray for the candidates as they go forward. Next week, we are starting the book of Romans. Paul's magnum opus, I think. It's a fantastic book, but it's just incredible. Really looking forward to that next week. But we are now in the last chapter of the first letter of Peter. So it's 1 Peter chapter 5. I'm going to read you the first, I think it's about 7 verses. Here it goes. Now, as an elder myself, and a witness of the sufferings of Christ, as well as one who shares in the glory to be revealed, I exhort the elders among you to tend the flock of God that's in your sight, exercising the oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly, as God would have you do it. Not for sordid gain, but eagerly. Do not lord it over those in your charge, but be examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will win the crown of glory that never fades away. In the same way, you who are younger must accept the authority of the elders, and all of you must clothe yourselves with humility in your dealings with one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that he may exalt you in due time. Cast all your anxiety on him, because he cares for you. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Well, Peter here, he writes to the elders of the churches he's writing to, and he tells them to tend the flock of God. And I think actually from the beginning there's something particularly special here. Because, of course, as Peter points out, he was a witness of the sufferings of Christ, but he actually spent time with Jesus. And let's not forget also that after the resurrection, when Jesus asked Peter 3 times, do you love me? Twice he said, feed my sheep, tend my lambs. So Peter was doing what Jesus had told him to do. And straight out of the mouths of the same Peter, these people here are being told to tend the flock of God. And I think there's something very, very special here about being told to do something which by somebody who'd been told to do it by Jesus, if you see what I mean. There's something really lovely in here. And so that's weird. So he tells the elders of the church, he says a couple of things. Firstly, he says, do it willingly and set a good example. And I think we should do that. That kind of stands to reason, really. Not for unrighteous gain, what he calls sordid gain, but we should do it, for all the right reasons. And we should set a good example. We should lead the way in Christian living. But he also tells us to do it willingly. And I think we should. Actually, I think as Christian leaders, we should do it willingly. I've got to be honest, I absolutely love being a priest. I've been doing it 30 years and I wouldn't do anything else in the world. It gets me out of bed in the morning. But I really do think that we should enjoy being clergy, actually. I think actually we should do it willingly. I think we should be excited and enthusiastic about our faith and about what we've been called to do. And I think it's a shame when people aren't. So I think actually there's a lesson to us who are elders in the church that we should do it willingly, that we should enjoy doing it, that we should be enthusiastic about it and not be ashamed of what we're doing. But before you get comfortable and start thinking that's just a lesson to ministers and my minister really should be more interested and exciting than he already is, or she is, let me ask you, I would like to turn the question round a bit, because I think in some ways, how willingly a minister ministers, so to speak, can to some extent depend on what the response they get from the people they're ministering to. Let me give you an example. If you're a minister, our vicar, and you are preaching the following morning and you've got a sermon to prepare, and you find yourself with an extra half an hour on the Saturday night, and you've got a choice. Do you use it for tweak up your sermon to make it really, really powerful in the morning, or do you spend that extra half an hour chilling in front of the telly? Nothing wrong with either. Now, I venture to suggest that in the morning, if you knew you had 100 people who were really interested, were really interested in what you had to say, if you had a load of people there who you think might change their lives because of what you're going to say, and are really interested and engaging with what you do, then you might actually spend that half an hour in sermon preparation and making that sermon really, really good for those people because they really want to hear it. If, on the other hand, you know that in the morning you've got far fewer people than that, and they're not really interested. They're there out of duty, and they're sitting there with looking at the watches all the time, looking at the ceiling, and they're not really interested. It doesn't make any difference. Then it might make you more inclined to spend that extra half an hour watching telly. I think to some extent, we are, as clergy, we are responsible for our own willingness, so to speak. But I think it can be encouraged or discouraged by the response we get. So next time you think to yourself, your vicar's boring or lost whatever, ask yourself the question, when was the last time you told that minister that they've changed your life? When was the last time you told that minister that you really appreciate what they do? Because actually, if people did more of that, if we honoured one another, as Peter suggests that we do in this reading, you never know, you might find more willing and more enthusiastic ministers. So it's right that clergy and church leaders should minister willingly. But I do think it's also right that we should honour one another and encourage one another and support each other and make each other realise why that willingness is worth it. So far we have Peter telling the people here, as a fellow minister, as a fellow elder, and somebody who's been given the ministry of shepherding by Jesus, he tells the elders, tend the sheep of God, do it, set a good example, and do it willingly. And I do think there's a message to us here to honour one another and to encourage each other and to encourage our ministers to be willing as well. But it will be remiss of me to finish this reading without this amazing little bit in verse 7, where Peter says, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. What a wonderful verse. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. There's a lot of talk at the moment about mental health and people think anxious and worry and so on. And it's rife, it's everywhere. And it's something that comes to us all. Of course it does. But I think this verse is one that we can write on our foreheads and take with us. Because actually, what this tells us is that whatever is going on for us, we can take it to God. Whatever our anxiety may be, we can give it to God. And we can cast our anxiety on him, knowing that he cares for us. I suppose I want to remind you this morning that God really cares for you. And whatever is going on for you, whatever might be troubling you this morning, whatever might be troubling me this morning, I can cast it on God, knowing, and let's remind ourselves, that he cares for us, that he is bigger than our problems, and that he cares deeply about you and me. I would say also that when we cast it, it means giving to God. And I think some ways giving to God is part of it, but I think leaving it there is another. And I think this also means that we can cast our cares and anxieties on God, but I think we can leave them with God too, because we know that he cares for us. What a lovely verse. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. And so, in this final chapter of Peter, the first half of it, we hear today that Peter writes as a fellow shepherd, someone who'd been told to shepherd by Jesus himself. He tells the people, he tells the elders here, shepherd the flock of God. Set a good example. Don't do it for sordid gain, but set a good example. Also, do it willingly. Do it with enthusiasm. Give yourself to it. You really go for it. But I think there's also a message to other people, to everybody as well. Let's make sure that we are encouraging each other, because actually if we encourage each other, our ministers and elders are much more likely to minister enthusiastically, and we'll get more out of it. But let's also remember that whatever is going on for us today, whatever good, bad or ugly it may be, however insignificant we may think we are, however insignificant we may think our problems are in the big picture of things, we can cast all our anxiety on him because he cares for you. And may you know his amazing love, carrying you, loving you, guiding you, and being with you